Welcome back to the channel, Magic the Gathering fans. On this episode of Card Anthology, we'll be taking a look at the set that ended the Onslaught block. This set was the second small set of the block and followed the previous expansion known as Legions. With that being said, let us begin to explore the episode over the set known as Scourge. Scourge was released on May 26 of the year 2003 and was the 29th Magic the Gathering expansion set. The team for the set was Brian Tinsman, Randy Buehler, Worth Wolpert, Mike Elliott, Brandon Bosey, Brian Schneider, and Henry Stern. Jeremy Crawford would be the art director for this expansion set. Scourge had a total of 143 cards with 55 commons, 44 uncommons, and 44 rares. This set continued the creature tribal theme started in the Onslaught block and was also called the Dragon set since Scourge focused heavily on that creature type. Scourge was sold in 15 card booster packs with the artwork of Dragonstorm, Dragon Tyrant, and Bladewing the Risen, was sold in fat packs, had a novel of the same name, and the pre-release card for this expansion was a foil version of the card Soul Collector. Soul Collector was a 3/4 black vampire creature with flying, morph, and when it dealt damage to a creature and that creature was sent to the graveyard, return it onto the battlefield under your control. Scourge also had 4 pre-constructed decks, which were the mono-red Goblin Mob deck, the black and green Max Attacks deck, the blue and red Pulverized deck, and the white and blue Storm Surge deck. The symbol of the set was that of a dragon head. As far as themes go, Scourge would push the Dragon Tribal theme with its higher proportion of dragon creatures and dragon support cards than in the previous 2 sets of the Onslaught block. Cards such as Dragon Speaker Shaman and Form of the Dragon supported this theme. Another theme was the Cost Matters theme, as there were a number of cards that rewarded players for playing high cost cards and punished players for using cheap cards. The card Accelerated Mutation is an example of rewarding players for using high mana cost cards, while Pyrostatic Pillar punished players for using low cost cards. Mechanically, you had the introduction of 2 new abilities. The first mechanic introduced in Scourge was Land Cycling, which was a variation on the cycling mechanic. This allowed cards with the mechanic to be discarded in order to get a specific land card. Cards such as Noble Templar and Elvish Aberration had land cycling. The other mechanic introduced in the set was called Storm. Storm was an ability on instant and sorcery cards that triggers when the spell is cast. It is then copied for each spell that was cast before the Storm mechanic card. Cards such as Brain Freeze and Tendrils of Agony were examples of Storm, and Storm would form different archetypes that would dominate competitive Magic. Head designer Mark Rosewater and other designers regard Storm as one of the most powerful and broken mechanics in all of Magic the Gathering's history. The story of Scourge continues the plot from Legions. Phage and Akroma have emerged to become Corona, the 5-colored mana avatar. Otaria is torn apart by different factions wanting to claim Corona for themselves. Massive damage would take place on the plane, but the continent of Otaria would be spared from most of the destruction. Great amounts of energy, however, are warping the very creatures of the continent as soldiers are merging with their weapons, zombies are transforming with more limbs and appendages, and elves are growing to massive sizes. On top of that, the Sliver Overlord is spawned off the explosion that created Corona. The Sliver Overlord is able to control other slivers via the hive mind. Near the end of the storyline, Kamal is able to free his sister Jessica from both Corona and her undead form Phage. Karn the Silver Golem returns to Dominaria to take Jessica to the plane of Argentum. He tries to influence her that she is a planeswalker and also persuades her to travel the multiverse with him. It is also at this point that the Golem Memnarch is introduced and mentioned in the Scourge plot. There were 6 cycles in the Scourge expansion set. The first cycle was the Dragon Auras, which were common level enchantments that gave an effect to a creature and can be returned to the battlefield if a creature of 6 or more mana enters the battlefield. The Dragon Auras were the white colored Dragon Scales, the blue colored Dragon Wings, the black colored Dragon Shadow, the red colored Dragon Breath, and the green colored Dragon Fangs. The next cycle were the Land Cyclers, which were common creatures that cost 6 total mana and can be cycled to get a specific land card. The Land Cyclers were the blue colored Shoreline Ranger, the black colored Twisted Abomination, the red colored Chartooth Kuker, the green colored Wirewood Guardian, and the white colored Noble Templar. The Storm instants were common level cards with the Storm mechanic. The Storm instants were the black colored Reaping Graves, the red colored Scattershot, the green colored Sprouting Vines, the white colored Astral Steel, and the blue colored Hindering Touch. The Warchiefs were a cycle of uncommon creatures that allowed its controllers to cast creatures of a shared creature type for 1 mana less than normal and had an additional ability. The Warchiefs were the red colored Goblin War Chief, the green colored Krosan War Chief, the white colored Daru War Chief, the blue colored Mistform War Chief, and the black colored Undead Warchief. The cost matter spells were non-permanent spells with a scalable effect that is dependent on the highest converted mana cost among permanents its controller controls. The cost matter spells were the green colored Accelerated Mutation, the white colored Reward the Faithful, the blue colored Dispersal Shield, the black colored Cabal Conditioning, and the red colored Torrent of Fire. The last cycle were the Decrees, which were powerful rare cards that feature the avatar Corona in the artwork and can be cycled. The Decrees were the white colored Decree of Justice, the blue colored Decree of Silence, the black colored Decree of Pain, the red colored Decree of Annihilation, and the green colored Decree of Savagery. There was one true reprint, 2 color shifted cards, and 2 strictly better cards. The true reprinted card was Goblin War Strike, which was a red sorcery card that deals damage equal to the number of goblins you control to target player and was first printed in Portal 2nd Age. The 2 color shifted cards were cards such as Enrage, which is the red shifted version of the alpha card Howl from Beyond, and the card Rain of Blades, which was the white colored version of the portal card Scorching Winds. The strictly better cards of the expansion were Coast Watcher, which was an upgrade from the starter 1999 card Sea Eagle, and the card Spark Spray, which is an upgrade from the portal card Scorching Spear. There were numerous notable cards that came out of the Scourge set. The first notable card was the card Siege Gang Commander, which was a 2/2 goblin creature that when it comes into play, you may put 3 1/1 goblin creature tokens into play. You may also pay 2 mana and sacrifice a goblin creature in order to deal damage to a target creature or player. Eternal Dragon was a white 5/5 dragon spirit creature with flying, plane cycling, and paying 5 mana in order to return this creature from your graveyard to your hand, but can only be done during your upkeep phase. Goblin Warchief was a red 2/2 goblin creature that has the ability of making goblin creatures have haste and costing 1 less mana to cast. This card is used in many goblin decks, both casual and competitive. Stifel was a blue instant card for 1 blue mana and has the ability to counter target activated or triggered ability. Besides being used to combo in the card Phyrexian Dreadnought, this card was used a lot against the Onslaught fetch lands in order to essentially destroy a land. Brain Freeze was a blue instant card that has the Storm ability and made the target player put the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. This was used as an alternate win condition in Storm decks. Tendrils of Agony was a black sorcerer card that also has the Storm ability, and the target player loses 2 life along with you gaining 2 life. This was the finishing win condition for most Storm decks. Silver Knight was a white human knight creature that has first strike and protection from the color red. This is an alternative version of the reprinted card White Knight and was used against many goblin tribal decks at this time. Carrion Feeder was a black 1/1 zombie creature that has the ability of not being able to block along with being able to sacrifice a creature in order to place a 1/1 counter on this card. This would be used more famously in the Legacy Hulk Flash decks with other cards such as Kiki Jiki and Karmic Guide. Decree of Justice was a white sorcerer card that puts X 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield. It also has cycling and a cycling trigger, which allows you to pay X mana and place X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. Decree of Justice was used mainly in mono white decks along with Astral Slide decks as well. Mind's Desire was a blue sorcerer card with the Storm mechanic and makes you shuffle your deck and remove the top card of your library from the game. Until the end of the turn, you may play it as if it was in your hand without paying its mana cost. Due to its power level, it is banned in the Legacy format and restricted in the Vintage format. Dragon Breath was a red aura that gives a creature haste and the ability to pay 1 red mana to give enchanted creature +1 power. It can also be returned to the battlefield if you cast a creature with 6 or more converted mana and it enters the battlefield. This was used in Cephalid decks to give the Judgment creature card Sutured Ghoul haste. Xantid Swarm was a 0/1 green insect creature with the ability of flying, and whenever this card attacks, defending player can't cast spells this turn. This card sees play both in Vintage and Legacy formats and was also a rejected idea in the You Make the Card promotion. Forgotten Ancient was a green 0/3 elemental creature that whenever a player plays a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on this card. During your upkeep, you may move any number of +1/+1 counters from Forgotten Ancient onto other creatures. Dragonstorm was a red sorcerer card that has the Storm mechanic and has the ability of searching your library for a dragon card and put it into play. While it did start off being used a lot, it would later be used more when this card was reprinted in the set Time Spiral. The last card was the creature Sliver Overlord, which is a 7/7 legendary mutant sliver that costs 1 of each of the mana colors. By paying 3 mana, you can search for a sliver card, reveal that card, and put it into your hand. You can also pay 3 mana to gain control of target sliver. This card is used in tribal sliver decks and is widely used in EDH. A sealed booster box of Scourge is worth around $300. So that is all we have today for this episode of Card Anthology for the Magic the Gathering series. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like and drop a comment to help us talk more about the set. Make sure to also hit that subscribe button to watch more episodes such as this one. Follow us on Twitter by going to the Card Bazaar at the Card Bazaar CC. Make sure to check out our sponsor 5-Color Combo and check out their Kickstarter project called Enfutown Bumpers. Be a backer of their card game and also download their app today. If you missed our previous episode over the Legion set, click on the link in the video description to check it out. Our next episode will be over 8th edition, so be on the lookout for that episode in the near future. That is all I have today, everyone. Coach over here, signing out, and I will see you all next time.